But I thank God every day for my daughters that I have them, and I know it's tenuous and I feel very vulnerable for having children. But, I turn to God and he comforts me. And he says, you know what? I've got your son safe in my arms. Don't worry. And whether I see him or not, that's up to God. I mean, maybe I will. Maybe he'll be all grown up and God knows what's going to happen. But I believe in the resurrection of the dead and all this sort of thing, that God doesn't give something good like life and then take it away. Never. Even to the wicked, he doesn't do that. So this is a good God whose information and advice is reliable. It's trustworthy. And it's good. It's good, sound advice. And this is where I turn to. So if you want to clear the slate and say, I want to know true reality, then back it up. Beep, 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 okay? And you say, I'm going to look at this thing through divine eyes, and I'm going to see what really my divine parents, that's God Almighty, the Most High, what he wants for me as opposed to what the system wants from me. And I'm going to see this. I'm going to see that not only does the earth belong to God, but the entire universe belongs to God. That means that encapsulates the galaxy I live in, the solar system I live in, and the planet I live on. All those things. It means that God is the sole proprietor, the sovereign owner of everything in the whole universe. That includes your own heart, mind, your spirit, your soul. And the sooner we understand that and give ourselves freely unto that power of cosmic divine nature, then the sooner, that plate is cleared once and for all. Okay, it's like being born again. It really is. It's like accepting this baptism from above. Okay, that's what it's all about. It's saying, I'm seeing now through divine eyes. I see the paradox on a collective level, and I see the paradox on an individual level, right within my own members. I see the battle that's being waged between my spirit and my flesh every day. Let's be honest. The flesh wants this, but your spirit says, wait a minute, if I do that thing, sanity dictates that it's not going to make me feel good. Insanity says, do it and expect the same results, man. It's a downer. So when you give in to the flesh, we can expect the same thing. It doesn't mean it stops us from giving into the flesh, just knowing these facts, but it points out the paradox we're living in on an individual basis. And then you take that and you convolute that on a collective basis, and you see just, how dynamic our situation is, how fluid that is, on a very large scale, a monumental scale, earth-wide, planetary scale. So understand that you're told certain things are practical to think about and dwell upon, and certain things are impractical and to dwell upon. And we are taught K through 12 and beyond to have little or no value for ethical teachings, okay? The teachings that are important are the ones that come through the curriculum, okay? This curriculum. And if you look up that word, it's interesting because the original definition of the word was something like racing chariots or something. So it's sort of a battle term, like, a cavalier sort of thing. So going into battle. So understand, this is a war, this war of what's valuable learning and what is invaluable learning and what is marginally valuable learning. And we can all agree that the basics are very important. I mean, reading, writing, arithmetic, science, it's all very interesting. And it helps expand our minds. It helps us to communicate within our society. But how many teachers, let me ask you, to encourage you to invent new words? But every day, new words are being invented. And the reason this is valuable to understand and to be empowered with this information is because, you want to hone your communication skills. You want to have a good vocabulary so that you can communicate properly and convey and impart ideas to other people that you want to. So you understand, we're taught from an early age to be small-minded, narrow-minded thinkers. But it's very, and that paradox, well, of course you're fleshly. I mean, you go to college like I did and took health science, and you got this sex education. They got to, show you how to play with yourself. I mean, for heaven's sake, I mean, that's pretty much as natural as falling off a log. It comes pretty easily. So what is the purpose for this training? This goes into their training depopulation techniques. Okay, this is what they're trying to teach guys. They're trying to say, look, it's tough. It's a hassle. You got to go out there to find a woman. You got to go out and you got to get a job. You got to make a lot of money. You got to be able to support a family. So why don't you just go play with yourself for the rest of your life? And a lot of guys have bought into that. And it's part of this training. Understand this whole overpopulation agenda, that the human interaction on the earth is destroying the earth. Now we've got the Pope involved in this, okay? It's getting very bizarre. I've been watching, Alex Jones has had a special on recently, this Money Bomb, where he did 28 hours of footage, and it just, I'm totally overwhelmed trying to soak it all in. But he was in Italy recently, and he was talking to this guy, what's his name? Leo, last name starts with a Z, but he's very, very well researched on the Vatican and the Pope and the whole, everything surrounding, all the dynamics surrounding it, the intricacies. And it's just fascinating stuff. But now the Pope's on board with this, with weather modification. I mean, the whole, overpopulation, and how, that we're destroying the earth with the CO2. So understand that things are getting really bizarre. And if you really want to get one step ahead of the people, this Illuminati class that are ruling our lives from behind the scenes, then you've got to read the Bible. You absolutely must read the book of Daniel, a very short book, but especially the last couple of chapters were reserved to be understood in the latter days. And I'm not talking about the end of the world. A lot of people will, submit to you that this is what I'm talking about, but that sounds very negative, extremely negative. But what we're talking about is the end of an age, and it's extremely positive for the upright. It's a very, 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 very good thing for the decent and upright, those that hunger and thirst for righteousness, that hunger and thirst for justice and equity upon the earth. A very, very, very good time, a lasting good time is coming to those people. But a very, very, very bad time is coming to the wicked people, the liars, the cheaters, the thieves, the murderers, all those evil people that revel in this current worldly system. Jesus said something very interesting. He said, you must hate your life in this world. Now, what's he talking about? In this world. He wasn't so much talking about on the earth. I mean, we're to enjoy our lives. God gave us this earth to enjoy. We're here on God's green earth to enjoy it. But what he's talking about in the world, he's talking about the system. He's talking about the people that are running the policy, that are creating the policies that we all have to live under. Okay, you must hate your life in a system like that. So it's the opposite of reveling in it. You are disgusted by it, you're repulsed by it, and you recoil from the world system. You want nothing to do with it. You want to have as little contact with this evil world system as possible. And that's what I would encourage anybody. But these are things that I've learned from studying Scripture. To me, valuable knowledge is the teachings from the greatest, wisest saints and, scribes and sages out there, philosophers. This stuff is what's really important. This is the whole clearing the slate and having a proper perspective, one that God edifies and sanctifies and condones, okay? You always want to, at the end of the day, you always want to say, God, help me to have the right perception, perspective, view, reality, paradigm, okay? And that can only come from Him, because this one is adulterated to the nth degree, okay? This is not reality. This is unreality. We're being manipulated by a gaggle of evil monsters, and we've all bought the lie. None of us know reality. How can we? Okay, this so-called reality is nothing but a fraud, and it's been perpetrated upon us by this same ruthless gaggle of merciless, rapacious thugs, okay? Relentless. That's what they are. They're relentless. They just keep coming and coming and coming. But they know, and now they're getting desperate, so they're trying to pull out all the stops. No holds barred anymore. Yes, we're trying to start the Third World War. We're in the Ukraine trying to provoke Russia. We're over in Syria. We're using ISIS as a proxy army to do our bidding, to throw out Assad, because Assad's too nice to his people. They enjoy too high a standard of living because they're not going in debt to the bankers. You know, is Syria in debt? Not to my knowledge. So, I mean, that tells you something. Okay, what's going on here? And, you know, all this stuff is in the Bible. It's prophesied. Believe it or not, they talk about specific nations. They talk about how it's all going to unfold, this battle of Armageddon, and the great news for the good people upon the earth, those that are found deserving, that are found worthy of inheriting this renewed earth. So you always want to make sure that, you know, at the end of the day, you go to God and you say, God, that is the place I want to go to. I want that imperishable body. I want to live forever in peace and harmony, in prosperity and security and freedom with my fellow man. That's a world I'm willing to live in. I'm willing to do whatever you say I should do, Father, of my own free will and accord. You know, to love you, do you say I must love you, or do you say I should love you? I'm going to get a shot of this. No, it's about serving God of our own free will. It's about serving one another of our own free will. It's about being born free, not born beholden to the money masters, the same gaggle of criminal thugs and gangsters. That's what they are. That's all they are. They're rapacious. They're merciless. And they're liars and cheaters and thieves. That's who these people are that are causing our problems, that need the problems to persist. But they see that the light of truth, and this is God's hand on the earth that is really working in a way that can be measured and you can see what's going on here. It is the light of truth. You see, knowledge can't be stopped. It's a locomotive, it's a divine locomotive that can't be stopped. This is the spirit of truth, and it keeps on descending more and more and more. Okay, God owns the planet. God owns the human beings on the planet. That's the truth. That's the reality. God owns the true information. That's what's really important, and that's what's not important. Okay, He knows these things, and He conveys them freely to us. They're gifts He gives us to accept. We could be empowered by that knowledge and wisdom. If we accept it as the truth, then we are empowered by it, and we can go out and share it. We can speak truth to power. And this is, and to other people, just, you know, share it, because this is how we grow. This is what information does. I mean, you take some trades out there. I mean, information is very tightly guarded. I had some tools I had designed, and I was having them manufactured here in Chico, California, at a local laser jet, water jet cutting place where they cut the metal literally with lasers. But the guy told me that when this machine malfunctions, they have to call, there's one guy in the entire country that has the knowledge, the know-how to fix this machine. And he comes in town, every time he comes into town for repairs, even if he's there for 5 minutes, he won't let anybody watch what he's doing. And, he's there 5 minutes and it costs a walk at $10,000. So understand that, knowledge to a lot of people is something that should be held privately and empower the individual, and then you keep it to yourself, and then you're an empowered individual, but you don't share it. That's pseudo knowledge. That's bad knowledge. That's not really the most important stuff to know, okay? What the most important stuff to know is how your reality should be, okay? Know how your reality should be as opposed to how it is. And your reality is manipulated to the nth degree. That's it. And it starts at day one from our birth. And when you know that your parents went through the same experience, that they were born beholden, their parents lived in fear, financial fear, economic fear, monetary-based fear, because they were born beholden to the money masters. They weren't free to just go, get some property and live like every other creature. You're born free. You go out and you find ways to, provide enough food for you and your family, and you go out and provide a way to make a safe, reliable structure and find, clean drinking water, this sort of thing. No, we're born told it's this way. You owe a cost of living. And fundamentally, we have to understand that that's where we go off track. That's why we must hate our lives in this world, because it is a monetary-based unreality. Okay, that's it. End of story. That is how simple this whole thing is. This is how we're kept in chains. This is how we are kept in fear and insecurity. This is how the wars are promulgated, all these dubious wars. It's not good causes. I mean, these people, they're good is an antithesis to these people. Okay, they're at war with all that is good and true and right and proper. These people just want to heap problems upon problems, but they know they're